Isn't the show?
Why is that show? It's not showing me.
Okay.
And then see those dots.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to school at Claremont State, and we're trying to get ready. I'm sure you guys have been through this whole thing for the last months with us, and we've been working very diligently trying to make sure that at some point we get a season out of this. The first thing, or actually the first two things we've got to do is one, make sure you're eligible. Secondly, you want to make sure that medically,
We're just having a little fun get together here.
if you could please turn your computer, your mute button on, your interrupted presentation. All right, I'll say this. Please make sure that your computer is on mute.
So I can't see myself.
Could I please ask everyone to put their computer on mute?
Bob, you can mute everybody.
I'm not sure how the heck to do it. How do we mute everyone?
Oh, you did stop it. There you go. Might have to stop sharing and then reshare. And then
There.
share.
Okay, I think we've got it now. So once again, welcome everyone. I hope everyone has had a good summer. At the same time, I think that we're all ready to start back and get back into the process. Let me reiterate, please make sure of a couple of things. Again, your computer should be on mute. If you have questions, please type into the comment box and we'll answer them as we can. Also, make sure that you have correct email addresses on ATS and your correct telephone numbers on ATS as well. It's important that we communicate with you, and that's our best way of doing it. We've had a lot of people that have misspelled different parts of their, or I suspect they misspelled different parts of their email address, and subsequently, we're getting an inordinate amount of kickbacks because of wrong emails. Once again, I start out with my fun things. There's a lot going on, and this has been a trying time for each and every one of us. We're doing our best And trust me, there's a lot of coaches and a lot of people that have spent an amazing amount of time in front of this screen trying to get our athletes, not just Fairmont State's athletes, but the Mountain East Conference athletes on the field. And they've done everything I can, or everything they can. I can tell you, Commissioner Amos has made the statement from April that we're going to do everything we can do until we can no longer do anything. But just for fun, just make sure that you know that there's only so much you can do with anything, and we're going to go as best we can for as long as we can. My athletic training staff, it changes on a year-to-year basis. We currently have 3 full-time athletic trainers and 1 graduate assistant who oversee the daily operations of the athletic training room and provide coverage for practice and games. That has shrunk by 2 since last year, for those of you that are new with us. We are also approved clinical sites, and both myself and my assistants are approved clinical instructors for West Virginia University. Therefore, you're going to see some students down here. They'll be here to assist us, and they'll be doing some assessments, and they'll be learning as they go along. Be patient with them. It's like doing an internship for an accountant or whatever your major may be. They're doing little internships to try to make sure that clinically they know what they're doing. Also be aware, athletic trainers are kind of like icebergs, or they're like that proverbial duck in the water. They look nice and calm on the top, and when you look at the water, they're kicking like crazy. Athletic trainers are the same way. Everything's nice and it looks like everything's going well on top, but underneath the water, a lot of things are going on, and we're always doing a little bit more than we think than everybody thinks we're doing. So I would ask you to be patient with us. This is a time when we all need to practice patience as best as we can, and understand that there's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of people that have needs. And on a case-by-case circumstance, we're doing evaluations to see if we need to change the way we're going. So we do the best we can. Bear with us. What the heck happened there? You should all be aware that athletic training is changing on a year-to-year basis. We're actually not going to be able to be a certified athletic trainer with just a baccalaureate degree anymore. You have to have a master's. We're using the medical model, and when people graduate from some degree, or from an institution with a degree like health sciences or something like that, they may want to go ahead and get a master's in athletic training. This is the way that the NATA and the BOC are going, and it sounds kind of confusing, and to be honest with you, it probably is, but in the long run, it's going to be much better for us. The athletic training room is going to become a medical facility, and we're going to be worked much like an office does. So that's actually going to be shown in some of the changes that we've got going on. But I want you guys to be aware that we're not, this is not magic in the training room at all. We're not Harry Potter, and we don't have a magic wand. Healing injuries takes time, and it takes a lot of hard work on your part and mine, but more specifically your part. You have to come in and ready to work. You got to make a conscious effort to get ready. You've got to make a conscious effort to get in, and you've got to stay after it. Otherwise, things get a little crazy, and you get a little uncomfortable, and then I get a little uncomfortable, and then the coach gets a little uncomfortable. So we want to make sure that we're all headed in the right direction. Well, this is my staff. This is me. For those of you that are football fans, that gentleman standing next to me is Herschel Walker. He and I made our acquaintance last year up at in Washington, D.C. We were on Capitol Hill doing some work, and we got to work together. He's an amazing man, and I'm not sure if I was ever that. I was a fan, but not until I really met him. If you ever met him, you would be a fan as well. My my staff. Everyone knows Alicia. She's in her second year as a full-time assistant athletic trainer here. She is NATA BOCS certified athletic trainer. She does a great job for me. She's my right hand, and she's the one that if I need something done right away, I kind of turn to her. She's a very special young lady, and I've been around her for 4 or 5 years now. She was actually a student with me when she was at West Virginia, as is Paige. Paige has done a great job for us. She was a student at West Virginia and did a rotation at Fairmont State, and we liked her so much that we asked her to come back. And then most of you know Kieran. Kieran is in his second year. He's actually doing his master's here on campus in exercise science. And we were hoping to keep him around for a little bit longer, but we found out that this is his last year with us. He's going on to PT school. He decided that the 90 hours a week that athletic trainers have a tendency to put in was not for him. Again, I want to remind you, things can get hectic. We're dealing with over 400 students and coaches in 17 sports. Therefore, Malik, you could please turn off your oh my gosh. Additional staff, or as I told you, there's undergraduate students from West Virginia University that will be doing a rotation through the semester with us. These are all underclassmen. They're young athletic trainers, and this is actually their first big assignment. So we're very excited to have them. We're looking forward to letting them work with us and teaching them as we move along throughout the course of the semester. Our medical staff consists of our team physician, Dr. Christopher Courtney. He is an orthopedic surgeon with United Hospital Center. Chris and I have been friends since he was a junior in high school, and he tore his ACL. He went on, came and played football here at Fairmont State, and then went on to medical school. We're very fortunate to have him. I want everybody to know that he may be one of the, if not the best orthopedic surgeon in the state right now. His group has really taken over orthopedics in North Central West Virginia. He is highly sought after, and he is my go-to guy. Also, Dr. Peter J. Alasky. Dr. Alasky is a sports medicine specialist, and he is also my go-to guy. These two gentlemen, we talk every morning. Chris and I talk on the way home. PJ and I talk on the way to work. So in between, they just kind of let me do what I need to do with full knowledge that we're working within the constraints that they've established for us. This gentleman here is Dr. Russell Biendo. Dr. Biendo is our neurosurgeon. If you have a concussion and we have to get you seen, this is the guy that's going to see you. He works both at UHC and he heads the department at WVU as well. So he's a very, very, very good man, a very highly sought after. We're fortunate to have him working with us. I think he works with us because Chris twists his arm and makes sure he does work with us. So we're very fortunate. And the last gentleman is Dr. Richard Vasic. Dr. Vasic is our general practitioner. He's at Whitehall Medical. Some of you have already met him. this is a credit to how long I've been here and how young he is. I had him in class when I first came to Fairmont, so he's a great guy. Again, he's one of those people that we have direct contact with, so we try to get some things done with these people, and we're very fortunate to have them on as part of our medical staff. In addition, we utilize the Fairmont State University Student Health Services a lot. There are 3 individuals down there that work with us, and we do a lot of general medical issues with them. People with tummy aches and people that have gen med issues, we can send down there. They can help us out, and they can sometimes write scripts for us and make sure that the basic stuff's taken care of. Again, we have a family nurse practitioner, and we have 1 or 2, depending upon the day, nurses in the health center. The Student Health Center is open from 8 to 4, Monday through Friday. I've recently been informed that they plan on opening from 8 to noon on Saturday. I have not got that confirmed yet, but for now we're open 8 to 4. So anytime you have an issue between 8 and 4, certainly you can come here, but it's also very easy to go down there. We communicate with them and they communicate with us, which is a really, I mean, we're very fortunate. Some institutions do not have this availability, so we're very fortunate to have them with us. Athletic training at Fairmont State, we try to use the sports medicine team approach. We try to work together, and this team involves the coaches, the parents, physicians, the student health services, the staff athletic trainers, and you. And if you notice, I got you in big words, big letters. We want to make sure that you understand that we can only help you if you want to be helped, and 2, if you let us help us. Let us help you. So you know, as we go along through this there's for you first year people at Fairmont State, this stuff's very important. Some of this stuff you're gonna the upperclassmen will have seen before, but it's always good to review. But these people, are very important, and that you've got to work with them. Now, one of the things that we want to make sure that you guys understand that there is a difference between pain and injury. Pain is an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with actual or potential damage. We anticipate, and we've sat around and had some great conversations, and we anticipate that there's going to be a lot of pain here early on. I theorize that of the 400 plus athletes we've had, about half of you have been working out, doing something. Of that half that's working out and doing something, about half of those are probably ready to play college sports. Some of you have not been doing your due diligence, and because of that, these first weeks when we finally get you back out there, you're gonna experience some bumps and some bruises and some strains and some sprains, and that's okay. That's expected when you're getting back into it. Now, having said that, if you're injured, we don't want you to piddle around. We want you to get in here. We want you to be taken care of, and we want to get you back out there as quick as you can. Remember, you are collegiate athletes. You're going to be sore. Our coaches, and certainly having taken 5 months off, you've got to agree with this. Our coaches are going to push you. You need to be ready to play, and they're going to make sure you are. So to go into this not expecting to be a little sore afterwards is kind of naive on your part. Please make sure that you're ready for this, and make sure that you learn the difference between pain and injury. It's important that you know what's going on, so that you can communicate this to us. Here's the intrinsic causes of injuries, and this is kind of what I just mention to you, obviously, if you've not been doing something and getting ready, there's going to be an insufficient flexibility or range of motion. There's going to be insufficient strength. The strengths or flexibility can be imbalanced, and insufficient cardiovascular conditioning, poor technique, poor history of injury, nutrition. All these things are intrinsic causes of an injury, and because you haven't done what college athletes do for 5 months, we are very concerned about this. So we're going to try to do our best to make sure that we're doing what we need to do for the masses. Now, one of the things that we've struggled with a little bit is medical records. I want to remind you guys as I open this whole thing and tell you that there are two things that you have to do to be an athlete at any college. One, you have to be academically eligible. You have to go through the NCAA's academics, and you got to be academically ready to play. And the other one is you've got to be medically ready to play. And these are also NCAA requirements. All these medical records that we have struggled with for the last 5 months are requirements by the NCAA. And in order for you to be able to participate, you've got to have all this taken care of. If you don't do this, then it becomes an issue, and you're not going to be able to participate in whatever activity your team has. Now, COVID kind of kicked us a little bit, and I apologize for that, but that's just everybody's in the same boat. Trust me on this. We typically try to make sure that the athletes that are returning for the upcoming year, prior to their leaving campus, they're put in a room with computers, and we start getting stuff ready. Well, unfortunately, March 15th hit, and they just sent everybody home, and it just didn't work. So we're making adjustments, but we do not want this to be the norm. Typically, we want things done. Records were supposed to be in by July 1 or July 15th. July 15th was the regular date, but we sent emails out and upped that to July 1st, thinking that we would be back in. Obviously, things have changed, but they should have been in sometime in July. We are still trying to accumulate medical records. That is frustrating on myself, my staff, and our coaching staffs. I've talked to them, and a number of them are highly agitated by this lack of cooperation. So we're trying to get this taken care of. We expect to do that before the end of the week. One of the things we have to do is make sure that we address your HIPAA rights. HIPAA is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, and essentially it's a privacy act. And everything that you've got in there is protected under HIPAA. HIPAA requires that we give you access to your medical files, which is exactly what we've done. Everyone here has had to establish a medical file, put together a user ID and a password so that they can get in. And when you come into the training room, every time we talk to you, when you leave, we sit down, we pull your file up, and we make notes in, just like your doctor does, on what was talked about, what the issue was, what you thought it was, what we thought it was, what it wound up being, and what our plan to take care of it was. So HIPAA is very, very important, and we take HIPAA very seriously. So please be aware of that. Now, another thing that we've had to deal with of late is insurance. A lot of you have HMOs and PPOs. HMOs and PPOs are healthcare organizations put together to keep down insurance costs. If you have an HMO and or a PPO, we suggest that you look for a doctor that's in your HMO and or PPO network that's in our area so that you can go to see them. Because here's the reality. You are much more likely to get sick and have to go to the hospital than you are to get injured and have to go to the hospital. Now, for us, it really doesn't matter because we don't have any insurance on you. But if for some reason there is something severe that has to be taken care of, it's going to be a difficult time to have to get you home and back into your HMO or PPO area. So again, as I said, every year, athletic staff at Fairmont, we encounter multiple issues with the processing of insurance. Please make sure that you help us with this and make sure that you keep us up to date on your insurance information. That way, when something does happen, we're able to take care of you properly. I will tell you, HMOs and PPOs are always covered through emergency through ER. So in a lot of instances, that's the place where we're going to send you for an initial evaluation. And then once they've stabilized everything, and if we have to send you back home, we can send you back home and see your HMO and PPO if you haven't already established a physician in our area. As I mentioned, Fairmont State does not supply insurance coverage of any type that covers athletic injuries. This includes both primary and secondary coverage. We require that you provide us with evidence of insurance as well as signing off on insurance liability. Those are the insurance forms that we've asked you to sign. At no point will Fairmont State have any insurance as it stands that will cover any of the injuries that you may sustain here at Fairmont State University. We also require that the athletes provide us on a yearly basis an up-to-date front and back of your insurance card. We take this, we download it into your file, and then we put it into a file, and that file travels. All it has in it is insurance card, and it travels with the teams when they travel. Again, all these forms are required by the NCAA. All medical forms must be updated yearly back to HIPAA. HIPAA allows us to keep your signature for 364 days. On the 365th day, it becomes null and void. And all medical forms must be signed by the athlete and their parents. And as I said previously, failure to comply will result in exclusion from all team activities until medical files are complete and on file in the athletic training room. Up until the end of last week, as you were released, as you were cleared to play, we sent you and copied we sent you an email and copied it to your coaches as due to the fact, or addressing the fact that you were released. We are no longer doing that now. We're just trying to get them taken care of. So help us out best you can. Now, the training room rules, and some of these are changing, and I'm getting ready. As soon as I finish this, I'm going to bring on one of my assistants. She's got some new stuff that we've got to do to help you get through this. We've actually got another assistant that'll be doing some stuff as well. But let me go over these rules for you. All athletes who have been injured or who have an illness must be responsible and report to the training room on a daily basis until the injury or sickness is resolved. That's your responsibility. Nobody's going to come and get you out of bed. Now, some of the coaches may for a while, but I doubt if they'll do it for very long. They expect you to be here just like if you were in practice. All injuries must be reported to a member of the athletic training staff. This must be done within 24 hours of the initial injury. That helps us to expedite care. The longer you wait, the worse the potential it could be. So we're trying to get this done, get this taken care of as quickly as we can so that you're back out on the field. Make sure that you schedule. We'll find out more about that in just a second. and be on time for all the training room appointments. Missing treatments is like missing practice, and it will not be tolerated. The fact is, we won't do anything in the training room other than not treat you if you miss your time. The problem you'll have is with your head coach. So let them take care of that. We ask that you not.
Yeah.
We ask that you not bring any equipment, athletic, personal, or otherwise, into the athletic training room. This should be stored
Like what?
car, out in the gym, anywhere.
Wait, what? Yeah.
Tim, can you? Thank you, Tim. Can you turn off your phone? Thank you. No foul language in the training room. Remember, this is a medical facility. It's also a facility that the majority of the coaches, it's one of the first places that parents want to see. They want to see where their athlete's going to be taken care of. And when they walk in, we want to make sure that they see a medical facility. And people sitting around dropping F-bombs is not something that a mom might want to see. And it's never happened to me before, but I would hope that and I hope it never does, but for a coach to come to me and say, we had this this best athlete in the world, and they walked in the training room and there was some off-color things being done, and it ruined ruined my opportunity to get the kid because the parents just didn't like that. So that's not going to happen in the training room. We're going to make sure that it's done right, and if you can't do it and do it right, then your athletic training privileges will be discontinued until such time as you can get yourself back in line. No use of tobacco in the training room, or for that matter in the Feaster Center. And although I don't have much to do with it, I think the campus is actually a tobacco-free campus. That means not just cigarettes, but it also means chewing tobacco and any other form of tobacco that you might use. No loitering in the training room. Because of COVID, and COVID has really forced us to make a lot of changes in the Feaster Center and in the training room. No loitering at all. There is a max of 10 participants or 10 individuals in the training room at one time. That is per the Marion County Board of Health and Lloyd White, the director of that health department. So we're going to do everything we can to schedule accordingly and make sure that we stay within that 10-person maximum. Number 8 is all treatments, rehabilitations, and/or modalities must be supervised by either myself or a member of the athletic training staff. No self-treatments of any kind. Certainly not in the Feaster Center or not in the athletic training room. I mean, if you want to go home and put ice on, that's up to you. If you want to go home and do dry needling, if you have that capabilities, you go right ahead. But in here, we do it. Well, athletic trainers in the state of West Virginia are licensed under the Board of Physical Therapy. So anything we do in here is a licensed modality. Number 9, all athletes finishing practice must shower before receiving treatments. Obviously, if we're dealing with injured athletes, there's a little caveat to that. But the reality is that one of the things that you're going to hear a lot over the next half hour or hour to 2 hours is that all hygiene is one of the primary ways to help stop the spread of COVID. So making sure that we shower and that we're clean is a priority for us. It always has been. It's become more of a priority. Excuse me. All athletes must be properly attired for treatment. This is a coeducational facility. If you need to work on your knee, don't wear a pair of tight pants in. If you need to work on your shoulder, wear a tank top in. Make sure that when you come in, you have undergarments on. Make sure that you're ready to be treated and that you're ready to do what you're asked to do. Make sure you treat all athletic trainers with respect. No abuse will be tolerated or allowed. be aware because of this COVID thing, there's going to be people telling you what to do that have never told you what to do before. Listen to them. They've been instructed to do things a certain way. And the reality is that if you folks don't buy in, we're going to have a problem. Not a problem where I'm going to be upset. The problem is we're going to be struggling to play sports. And you're all buying into everything that we're doing here now. It is imperative in us having a season, a fall season, and coming back and having a spring season. So it is all in your hands. What do you want to do, and where do you want to go? If you want to do what you're supposed to do, then we're going to be fine. If you don't, the person that's responsible is you guys. Sorry, this is the way it is. No personal items, no backpacks, no electronic devices, no cell phones whatsoever. The study's been done that the dirtiest thing that people that are dealing with COVID have to deal with is a cell phone. So do not bring them into the training room. And don't. And I've got 400 people on here, and I'm telling you, don't say, well, you didn't tell me that, because I did. Okay? No food or drink in the training room. And the most important thing is when you come in here, be prepared to work as hard as you work on the field for your coaches. Excuse me. Now, I'm going to turn this over to Alicia Cuthbertson. Alicia's going to go over scheduling in the training room, and she's going to go over what else we doing, Alicia? And this COVID screening. So she's going to do all the computer stuff that you've been doing. So give us a check, give us a second to get our seats switched, and then we can get started.
Hello. Okay. So, all right. So the COVID screening, you guys have all been instructed to do this already. But everyone has to do it. Every student athlete, every single day. Especially when stuff starts to pick up, when we can actually play on the court and field and stuff, has to be done by 1 p.m. And that is the online questions. And then to my knowledge, at this point, everyone's going to need to be temperature checked before 1 as well. The temperature checks can be done upon entering the Feaster Center, and the online questions can be done on your phone anywhere. Why do we have to do this? Again, just the safety of yourself and others. And I thought we were going to be playing by this time, but I guess to maybe start playing hopefully in the future. So how do I complete my screenings? Most of you have already done this or have at least once, hopefully. If not, please ask questions because it's going to need to be done eventually. So the online portion, you're going to receive an alert nightly. I think it's about 4:30, 5 o'clock. People have been telling me a.m. to complete the symptom checklist for the next day. It should be coming via text and email, but I'm not sure. I know for sure it's coming through via email. So what you have to do is log into the ATS, and the first thing you see will be the COVID screening. It's 3 pages. Fill out the answers as honest as possible, and just click sign and submit. Here's the link to the Athletic Trainer website. I can go through that with you guys if you need to, but again, most of you guys should be doing this already. Temperature checks. So the idea is to have a table upon entering the Feaster Center. I don't know if that's 100% go yet. It is. Okay, so we're going to have a table at the front of the Feaster Center. When you walk in, the person at the table is going to ask you your symptoms that you put down on your COVID screening, and then check your temperature. The first time if it's normal, which is around 98.6, anything under 100.4, you're going to be good to go. If your temp is elevated at 100.4, we're going to make you wait for 15 minutes and retake the temperature orally in the athletic training room. If it's still high, we're going to take it just one more time to double check, and then we'll have you seek further medical care if it's still elevated. This will be entered in your chart, and I will show you kind of what that'll look like. Again, this is supposed to be done already, but if you have any questions, please ask. or type it into the comments and we'll try to get that addressed now. Oh, shoot. All right. So questions that have been asked so far is, how do I fill out the travel section? Do I have to put everywhere I've been every time? No, the very first time, put all the stuff that you've been since March to the best of your ability. Every time after that, just say class, Walmart, Feaster Center, just where you've been for that day. The reason why we have this section is for COVID tracing purposes. So we just it'll just make everything easier if you did contract COVID-19. So when it said at night, it actually meant 5 a.m. in the morning is when you should be receiving that. So the first thing you need to do when you wake up is check your screen and the email should be sent. Ice bags, that question was asked in relation to COVID. I'll talk about that a little later. And then I just explained the exact protocol on how to do the screening. So there have been questions and we're encouraging more questions. So this screen here is what I'll see on my end when you do a COVID screening and a temperature. We'll enter whether or not you have a symptom. So this demo says that they have fatigue and their temperature is 98.6. So the 98.6 is elevated, so we're a little bit concerned. The fact that they also have a yes makes us even more concerned. So they'll do another temperature. Down here, you can see that it's 100 and there's another symptom. This person was tested on the 4th, so we can just comment that. This is just to show you guys what we're looking at if you're curious. So what happens if I am flagged? So if you have that 100-degree temp or 100.4 degree temperature and a couple symptoms, you will be referred to student health if your third temperature is still over 100.4. From there, they'll determine whether or not they need to contact the health department and or Matt Sween, our FSU COVID-19 director. And then from there, they'll determine whether or not you need to quarantine or isolate and for how long it's going to be. So some limitations that might happen is, again, the report is going to be sent to the coaches at 1 p.m. daily. What will restrict you from playing that day is going to be if you did not do the screening and or if there is a flagged athlete that can't participate for that day. If you have not completed your screenings or you are flagged, you cannot practice, playing games, come into rehab, lift weights, go to meetings, basically anything in the Feaster Center that's available to you. So again, this is something that has to be done. So that's all the COVID stuff. Please, again, direct your comments to the comment section, ask questions. We're here to help any way that we can. So the scheduling that Bob was talking about is anytime that you need an appointment in the athletic training room. We cannot have any more than 10 people in the athletic training room at one time. So that gives us about 6 people, and we're going to schedule it for 1 hour time slot. So we need to reserve available rehab space for those that are post-surgical or have injuries, not just minor things. So we might have to direct your care in other ways that you're not maybe used to in previous years. So you need to schedule an appointment for an evaluation, a consult. You just need to talk to us, rehab, treatment, so that we can organize it to get as many people in the athletic training room as possible. We need to be as efficient as possible with this. Our time slots will be here at 7 a.m. and we'll take the last round of rehabs at 1 because we have to be finished by 2 in order to get out those practices. Ice baths will no longer be available. Obviously, if it's an emergency and we need it for heat purposes, we'll use those at our discretion. This is what I was talking about with the ice bags. Right now, we cannot give out ice bags unless used for treatment mandated by the AT staff.
Nothing to take blood about, right? Huh? Yes.
Right now, we're putting tape outside. Stretching will be done outside. We have packets, and hopefully we're going to get some extra equipment to put outside the athletic training room. And then pre-practice treatments, we are not going to schedule those, but they will be first come, first serve at the discretion of the AT staff due to capacity limits. And that's going to be people that have injuries get priority. So how to schedule, you're going to go to the athletic trainer website. What's going to pop up is this page. You're going to click request appointment here or down here, depending on what system you're using. And then you're going to click the available date that you need. You can schedule out weeks at a time as well. Just know that if you miss, over time, we're going to take you off of that. You have to make sure you're at the appointment. But so you want an appointment for August 5th, click August 5th. Down here in the staff filter, you have to click Bob's name. And then you're going to select your time slot. So we selected noon. And then just write as specific as possible what you need to have for the day. And then click send request. You'll see up here that you've scheduled an appointment. The staff member has been notified. Okay. So just because you clicked Bob's name doesn't mean it's going to be Bob that does the rehab for the day. It's whoever is here. Like you said, we do a team approach to this. Okay. What can I do before and after practice since, we might not be in here for pre-practice treatments? Like I said, we'll have some stretching packets, warm-ups that might help you more so than heat, and some daily exercises for maintenance purposes. Because like Bob mentioned, without activity for this long, you guys are more susceptible to some soft tissue injuries. So we're going to try to combat that with some prevention exercises outside the athletic training room. We'll be around to help you guys through those exercises. We just can't have you in the actual athletic training room. So again, located outside the athletic training room, potentially upstairs. We're not sure yet. We'll let you guys know when we get those areas in place. Always have proper hydration, diet, hygiene. Please practice social distancing and washing your hands. And then if you have or experience signs and symptoms, please notify someone. We don't want this to spread. We want to keep it as contained as possible. And ideally, we'd like to have no one, but be as honest as possible so that this thing doesn't get out of hand. And then here, you guys have all seen these signs posted around the whole campus. Here's the signs and symptoms if you're not sure. And I think that's all for me. So Bob will be coming back.
Okay, so she went over the athletic training room schedule, and I'll just throw this up here one more time. We are going to be in by 7 o'clock in the morning. So, excuse me, please get up, get yourself taken care of so that you're ready for the day. You should be coming in early anyways, and not waiting until noon to get your temperature taken. So if the quicker you get that stuff taken care of, the better off you are. You're just knocking things out of the way. If you wait until the last minute, we may not be available. So please take care of this. So again, we go from 7 to noon. We want appointments at lunch. And then from 1 o'clock, we're trying to get things ready. And we plan on practicing. We are moving ahead. This office, this facility is moving ahead, getting ready for us to get ready to play. So that's how we're approaching things. Anybody that's not approaching that, well, I'm not sure how to deal with you. Okay, athletic training policies and procedures. Our policy procedures for sports medicine are basically come from the NCAA. We get one of these little books. You can see this is a 2013, 2014 version of it. It changes a little bit on a year-to-year basis, but for the most part, it stays the same. They upgrade things as needed, and when that happens, we make sure that everybody knows it. But we also have a policy procedure manual that's specific to Fairmont State University, and these are on. We have them on file in the athletic department's office or at the athletic director's office. They're on file here. Anybody that would like to see them will be more than happy. And I believe that all the coaches actually have an electronic copy. I don't know if they kept them or not, but I've tried to make sure that they all get them initially when they do come in. So we've got some things that we do. We got ways of doing things. It may not be the way you want to do things. But what we do is what's right for everybody. And sometimes what's right for everybody is a little stressful for the individual. Bear with us as best we can. If we have to make adjustments for a person, we will. But we want to make sure that it's a necessary adjustment and not just because we didn't want to do something. Prescription drugs. Fairmont State Athletic Trainer does not dispense prescription drugs of any form. We do over-the-counters, but we do over-the-counters on a case-by-case situation. We would give you a couple of aspirin, but we would prefer not to give you aspirin for every day for the rest of the school. And we'll tell you that. There are individuals that require on-field or on medication, and they must take that. They should provide the athletic training staff with that medication. I will tell you this: in some of the sports that athletic trainers are not necessarily right there with you the whole time, it may be to your advantage to take your medication and have it in your backpack or something like that. I'm referring specifically to albuterol inhalers and EpiPens. If you have an allergy or if you have some problem with asthma or you have exercise-induced asthma and you were prescribed an albuterol inhaler, then by all means, make sure that you have it with you. And then if it's a circumstance where athletic trainers are there all the time, then by all means, give it to us. We'll put your name on it. We'll put it in a box and we'll make sure that it's available to you whenever you need it. The other one is the ADD ADHD medication. Let's move on to this next slide. The NCAA requires requirements for continuous prescriptions state that we must ask for history, diagnosis, and prescription. So, and this is specifically for ADD, ADHD. Those of you that have your ADHD filled out, you've already seen some of this stuff. If you are one of those people, please make sure that you just very simply make sure that all that stuff has gotten to us, because I guarantee you that we're going to drug tested. We get drug tested at least once a year, sometimes twice. Mr. Janikowski, can you please turn off your microphone? Thank you. So make sure that you have this, because if for some reason you are ADD or ADHD and you are drug tested, you will test positive. Here's the great thing: we've got a history, we've got diagnosis, we run it off, and we take it with you to the drug testing session. That way, when you test positive for a banned substance, then we're okay. Because if a doctor prescribes it, there is no such thing as a banned substance, and that's the way the NCAA goes about it. Steroids are actually viable things to use, but it's not the use, it's the abuse. So we're trying to make sure that we take care of that and we avoid any unpleasant circumstances that may come from that, which is this. The NCAA, as I said, does drug tests. We get it at least twice a year. I'm not sure why, but we do. I've heard to other schools that only get it once a year, or they just they're not sure. This NCAA drug testing program is to protect student athletes' well-being and to deter drug use and to maintain the integrity of the game. It's an absolute very, very. I mean, they walk you in. I mean, you got to sign your name a dozen times. I guarantee you that the selection is random. Typically, I'll get an email on a Tuesday, and we are told that we're going to be drug tested. We then have to send them a list of our sports that we sponsor. They in turn return a list of the sports that will be tested. We then send them rosters of those sports, and they turn around and send us a list of athletes that are going to be tested. And then we start the process of informing them. That takes about 3 days, and we typically test on a Friday morning. As I said, random selection and other approved selection methods, they absolutely observe collection for urine samples, and there's a strict chain of custody process that protects the samples from contamination. Again, you're going to sign your name 5 or 6 times, and I've got to sign my name at least twice, confirming that you are who you are, and we're doing what we're supposed to do. So it's a very strict chain of custody. These are the class of drugs that they test for. And if there's a positive drug test, there's loss of eligibility, loss of competition. There is an appeal hearing process that is available, but that's all through the NCAA. Fairmont State doesn't have a lot to do with that. It is just the way the things work with the big boys. So please be aware that you can lose up to a year of eligibility from the date of the positive test. It's not really that important. Don't do it. Be aware that you're responsible for any substance that you put in your body. Don't rely on drugs and supplements for performance enhancement. Remember, no ingredient label is 100% accurate. Here's the link for the NCAA.org drug testing. We can help you as well. If you're on supplements or something like that, you can actually go in. Josh, can you turn off your phone?
He's all the good stuff for himself. News.
Josh Nevers, can you turn off your microphone? First drug testing policy. This policy again is the drug and alcohol abuse deterrent program, and was created to complement the NCAA policy. However, understand that this policy may go above and beyond the limitations and violation consequences of the NCAA's policy. Things that you should know. Student athletes are subject to drug tests at any time, no notice required. They can, the coach can literally bring you to my office. I'll make one phone call and you'll be sent out and drug test. Josh Nevers, can you please turn off the microphone? Student athletes may be tested if found to have possession of any of the FSU banned substance. And student athletes are subject to being tested for any reasonable suspicion of a banned substance. Those reasonable suspicions are any of these: violations of state laws, behavioral changes, outward signs, odors of drugs, alcohol, possession of paraphernalia, other positive drug tests, DUIs, violent conduct, assault or sexual assault, vandalism, theft, chronic fatigue, decreased interest or efforts in sport-related activities, prolonged injury, illness, unexpected weight or strength loss or gain, unexpected mood fluctuations, irritability, hostility, and withdrawal, and reports of substance abuse by a credible source. So any of this stuff can get you drug tested. These are the consequences. Everyone comes in with as a category 0 and have no history of a positive test for a banned substance. It is our hope that you stay at that level. However, if you are tested and you test positive, here are the consequences: mandatory counseling, frequency of testing. There's an increased frequency of tests, meeting with coaches and PD designee, that's typically me, possible suspension from team, from suspension and team sanctions, and then obviously there's further testing. Consequences for not complying with counseling. parents and guardian are notified and kept up to date of the progress. Now, we put this together. Coach Snively and I, actually Coach Snively did a majority of it, but we put it together so that that the coaches would have something to say with that. We didn't just want to throw you out there. We feel like this is not something to hurt you, but something that we can help you with. So we get through category A and you get another positive or another negative drug test and you know, everything's back to normal and you're okay. We move along a little bit and we decide to drug test you again, and lo and behold, you're positive again. Problems. We're back to mandatory professional counseling. There's an increase in frequency of tests. You're subject to team sanctions, further suspensions, possible suspensions from athletic financial aid. All this is subject to what the coaches want to do. And you're tested more and more. The third one is the bad one. We feel like that we're giving you 2 opportunities to get back in line. If you don't take those opportunities the third time, you're probably going to be suspended permanently from athletics at Fairmont State University. You're going to lose your financial aid, and obviously the parents will be notified. So then that becomes a circumstance out of our control. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is we've got some COVID stuff that we need to educate you on. Kieran, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I've got Kieran Dam with us. Kieran's our graduate student, and this is one of the projects that we had him do. He's been working on it for like a month to make sure that you guys are up to speed on some of the things that go along with COVID. So I'm going to turn this over to Kieran. Kieran, you're on your own, big guy. Please give Kieran your undivided attention so that we can get through this. Thank you.
All right. Over some tips, facts, and myths. Bob, whenever you're ready for the next slide. Bob, I'm ready for the next slide when you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had you set up, but guess we didn't. All right.
So what is COVID? It is defined as a family of large single-stranded RNA virus. It's a lipid envelope that is studded with proteins. This means that COVID-19 uses the body's natural cellular replication system to multiply. It is an infection of the respiratory tract, which includes your nose, throat, and lungs, and can cause severe respiratory syndrome known as SARS. It is a severe contagious respiratory illness characterized by high fever, fatigue, dry cough, and pneumonia. Those at risk, higher risk are diabetics, individuals with the sickle cell trait, those with a body mass index over 30, asthmatics, and hypertensive individuals. So a couple, 2 back-to-back slides of transmission. This one, person to person, spreads primarily through droplets of saliva or discharge from the nose, through sneezing, coughing, and or talking. This causes subsequent droplets to land in another individual's mouth or nose. Types of contacts you can come into are close, so you're within 6 feet of an individual for 15 plus minutes. Physical, such as shaking hands or hugging. And proximate, which is you're more than 6 feet apart, but in the same room for an extended period of time, such as 30 minutes or longer. I won't run through the whole list, but this is surface to person, just so you start to get a basis of why you should be cleaning surfaces every day. So for most of you, I see you carry around Hydro Flask, which this can last up to 2 to 3 days on. Windows, doorknobs, 4 to 5 days. And I'll let you guys go back through the rest of this and see what you need to take away from it. I'm ready when you are, Bob. So a symptom checklist you need to be paying attention to that correlate to COVID-19. Most commonly seen is fever, dry cough, and fatigue. Least common but can still be applicable are aches and pains, sore throat, diarrhea, headache, and loss of taste and or smell. If you see these serious symptoms below, please seek immediate emergency, which are difficulty breathing or shortness of breath, chest pain or pressure, loss of speech or movement. On average, it'll take 5 to 6 days, or it can take 2 weeks to see these symptoms come to light. So as far as prevention, shower and wash clothing regularly. Wash your hands with soap and water when available, or with 60% alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain 6 feet between you and an individual that is coughing and sneezing. Avoid touching your face. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. Stay home if you feel unwell. Refrain from smoking and other activities that weaken the lungs, and avoid unnecessary travel and staying away from large groups. So for proper hygiene for your hands, you should be washing before eating or preparing foods and touching your face, after using the restroom, leaving a public place, caring for a sick person, touching animals, pets, handling your mask, or sneezing or coughing. Use soap and warm water for 20 seconds. If not available, use hand sanitizer that's 60 to 70% alcohol. When coughing and sneezing, always cover your mouth and nose. Throw away tissues in the trash and wash your hands. Clean and disinfect. So when you cleaning and disinfecting, if the surface is physically dirty, clean first, then disinfect. And what is recommended is BioBuster, Clorox bleach, disinfecting bleach, and please shower. So as far as social distancing, know before you go, know and follow the guidelines from health authorities. Prepare for transportation. Avoid pulled Ubers and ride shares. Select bus seats away from others and wear a mask. Limit contact when running errands. Runs for essentials only. Choose safe social activities. Keep 6 feet apart. Try to use technology to avoid contact. Keep distance at events and gatherings, and stay distant while being active. So why you should wear a mask? It prevents the spread to individuals, protects those at higher risk, healthcare workers, and others that work in close contact areas. Should be used in conjunction with social distancing, hand washing, and disinfecting areas. It is shown to decrease and eliminate cases in areas such as Japan and New Zealand when used by the vast majority of the public. So a study was done by a microbiologist at the Providence Healthcare. It was endorsed by virologists and preventative medicine disease experts. The subject coughed for 15 seconds at 2, 4, and 6 feet. At each range, the subject would perform coughing once while not wearing a mask and once while wearing a mask. And although COVID-19 is not a virus, this experiment demonstrates the ability a mask has to impede the spread of respiratory droplets, as seen by the graphics on the right. I'm ready when you are, Bob. So this is the way to properly wear your mask by the 4 steps. Please follow. I'm ready for the next slide when you are. For some of you, I've seen you not with the right, but on the left. Please be conscious how you wear your mask. This does no good to the rest of us or yourself. So please be conscious when you're on campus and around the facilities. I'm ready when you are. And what to do if you have COVID-19, stay at home except to get medical care. Call testing sites for scheduled or walk-in appointments. Avoid public transportation. Stay hydrated and take over-the-counter medicines to alleviate symptoms. Separate yourself from other people. Quarantine for 10 to 14 days in your own room. Only leave for essentials. Monitor your symptoms, such as for life-threatening, such as loose skin, persistent chest pain, or trouble breathing. Clean all high-touch surface areas. And wear a mask if you must be around others, such as for testing. And a couple myth busters. Drinking alcohol doesn't protect you from getting COVID-19. Prolonged use of a mask does not cause oxygen deficiency or CO2 intoxication. Spraying or introducing bleach or other disinfectants into your body does not protect you from COVID-19, and people of all ages can be infected by COVID-19.
Okay, thank you, Kieran. I want to make sure everyone's aware that all Fairmont State University athletes who have tested positive for COVID-19 must be cleared by a cardiologist prior to to any athletic participation. We've already started that process with some of them, and we've tried to single you out as you've come through the training room for your final medical clearance, and we've set you down and talked to you. If you are one of the ones that I've talked to, please make sure you see me in the office as quickly as you can. We've got 4 people that have already started the process, and we've got 1 individual who has elected to do that on their own. We give you 2 options. One, you can go home and do it on your own. If your parents would prefer you to see a cardiologist, if they have access to someone, then go right ahead. We're okay with that. All we require is that we have a release from that physician stating that you are cleared with no restrictions. We actually have a cardiologist that we work with that I'm sending 4 people to, and he's the same cardiologist that works with West Virginia University, and he's assured me that he'll take care of us just like he takes care of WVU, and they're doing everything they can to get us in as quickly as we can. Remember, there's a whole bunch of people that are getting taken care of, so it does take some time. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is educate you on sickle cell. So what we're going to do is do this this little video for you, and then we'll talk about it. So let me pull this up, and we'll go from there.
The purpose of this video is best practices for all athletes, especially during intense, with a special focus on the impact of exercising with sickle cell trait. You should be aware of your daily health status and related conditions that could impact your training, such as sickle cell trait status, asthma and cardiac conditions, acute illness, lack of sleep, suboptimal nutrition, as well as any relevant medications being taken. Injury is a possibility in all athletic activities. Even though conditioning sessions and high-intensity practice sessions should be designed to the likelihood of injury and optimize your performance, athletes in these situations have experienced significant physical distress, collapsed, and even died. NCA members often adopt rules and best practices that are intended to protect your well-being during these activities. In an effort to reduce injury and illness, NCAA student athletes are required to complete a medical examination prior to participation. During this process, the NCAA also requires each student athlete to confirm their sickle cell trait status. Division III rules allow you to participate while awaiting results from the laboratory, provided that you complete additional mandatory education regarding the risks, impact, and precautions associated with sickle cell trait. Your institution will explain this process more in depth as it pertains to their policy. Sickle cell trait occurs when an individual inherits a gene for sickle hemoglobin from one parent and a gene for normal hemoglobin from another parent. The sickle hemoglobin gene is more common in people of African, Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, or Far Eastern descent. Sickle cell trait is present in athletes at all levels of competition and ethnicities, including professional and Olympic sports. Because sickle cell trait does not make you sick, it is possible for you to have it and not know it.
I discovered my sickle cell trait status during my sophomore season. I had a really bad cramping episode in the first game. Pretty unusual. I came in before halftime, and by the time I got to the training room, I couldn't walk. My body completely locked up. I recovered after that, went into the second game. Similar issues, not as bad as the first. And then we had our bye week, and we had a pretty long, grueling practice. And then our training staff and some other people noticed that I wasn't myself, and I was really fatigued and stuff like that. And Craig, our head athletic trainer, came up to me and asked me if I'd been tested for sickle cell. And I said I wasn't sure, and then we went through the testing and found out that I indeed carried the trait. Under normal conditions, student athletes with sickle cell trait can train and compete in athletics at the highest level of sport and can lead a healthy life without fear of developing complications. Exercise and sport are safe and, in fact, may be somewhat protective in individuals with sickle cell trait. Sickle cell trait is a lifelong condition that will not turn into sickle cell disease but will be maintained over time. Serious medical problems associated with sickle cell trait are rare even during intense training. However, some athletes with sickle cell trait have experienced significant physical distress, collapse, and even died.
Any athlete can collapse or experience exertional rhabdomyolysis during intense exercise. While most return to sport over time, athletes with sickle cell trait seem to have more problems recovering from rhabdomyolysis and should be attended to diligently and monitored closely.
The greatest risk of exertional collapse for all athletes is during conditioning sessions and the start of new practice periods. Your workout goal is to optimize your physical efforts while minimizing the risk of injury and illness. Workout design should consider your individual medical condition, skills, abilities, and conditioning level. Progressing your exercise time and intensity slowly during a 2-week period before preseason can help your body acclimate to the exercise load and prepare for the rigors of the sport season. All athletes and coaches can monitor distress by watching an athlete's posture during the workout. This color graphic depicts green, yellow, and red situations which correspond to a series of postures showing an athlete moving into a distressful and serious condition. Athletes unable to stand on their own from a kneeling position or having trouble walking normally under their own control during recovery should raise suspicion of distress, and additional medical intervention should be considered. Taking a knee during a workout can be a universal sign for the need for additional recovery. Exercise should not be used as a form of punishment in any athlete experiencing physical distress. To ensure optimal performance, you should stay hydrated by consuming water throughout the day. Do not wait until you're thirsty. Drink early in the workout, such as 8 ounces of water every 15 minutes during exercise. Incorporate sports drinks when possible. Replace your fluids lost during exercise by keeping track of your weight lost. In general, 20 ounces of fluid should be replaced for every pound lost during the workout. Monitoring your urine color is another way to assess your hydration. Lighter color is better. Dark brown urine should be reported immediately.
Knowledge of sickle cell trait status can be a gateway to taking simple precautions that may prevent exercise collapse and allow for optimal performance. Do you know your sickle cell trait status?
Okay, once again, all FSU athletes must provide proof of receiving a sickle cell test, and the results of that test need to be taken to the athletic training room. The staff must know this prior, which is allowed to participate in any team activities, no exceptions. This is one of those things where this is a little drawing here, and it kind of shows you what happened as this is a nice red blood cell. This is a red blood cell that is under stress and it's sickling. What happens is it winds up sickling and catching and actually forming a clot. And unfortunately, if it forms a clot in the wrong place, it can cause some major problems. And as I mentioned in the film, sickle cell can lead to death if not properly taken care of. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is concussions inside the brain and the things that we have to deal with. We've got some new stuff that has come out of something called the Arrington Settlement. The Arrington Settlement was a lawsuit that was settled by the NCAA, and based on that lawsuit, we now have to do a couple of other things that may slow us down a little bit, but it's for your best or for your own health and well-being that we're doing this. So Understand a concussion is a blow to the head can do major damage to the brain without leaving even the smallest bruise. And here's why. In the first few seconds after you get hit, nerve fibers inside the brain snap and sodium rushes in the brain's and it short circuits the brain's communication capacity. Sometimes you black out. It's kind of like throwing salt water on your computer. It just goes crazy. Over the next few days, this is physiologically what happens. Sticky plaque starts to build up where the concussion was, and it makes it hard, and it's very hard to clean up. The nerve fibers die. This makes it harder for you to think. Healthy nerves become vulnerable because of this plaque, and it takes time to heal. And even the slightest impact during this vulnerable time can cause long-lasting effects, even a lifetime of effects. And this is referred to as second impact syndrome. And unfortunately, Fairmont, or not Fairmont, but certainly West Virginia has experienced this. We've had, over the years, we've had young athletes that have experienced a concussion, did not wait until everything was taken care of, try to return too early, and wind up passing out and then finally passing away during their activity. So we're trying to avoid that. It's not always what you want to hear, but sometimes what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear is we want to make sure that you're taken care of. We're concerned about your health and well-being. And we realize you want to play, but stopping your play may very well save your life. Over the long term, life after concussion can absolutely be uncertain. And the analogy that we give here is when you're flying a plane with one engine, you're just fine until turbulence starts. That's the stress of life. When that starts, sometimes that one propeller is not enough, and then that stress actually upsets the balance of your life, and it can cause major long-term problems. So we're trying to avoid that. The NCAA is trying to avoid that. So we're doing the best we can. Here's our concussion video, and then we'll talk a little bit more about our policies and procedures as it pertains to concussions.
For me, soccer is really mental, and it's always a challenge. It's a constant thought process, always thinking hard about what would be the best strategy to prevent the other teams from scoring.
In the fall of 2009, Claire Pinciero was a college freshman who was looking forward to her first season with the Princeton University soccer team. Claire realized that college athletics offered an opportunity to push herself to meet and overcome challenges, mentally and physically, in the classroom and on the field.
It's the most physically and mentally exhausting games, but after you've done well, it's like you feel like a sense of serenity.
The season was just underway when Claire suddenly found herself facing a new set of physical and mental challenges when she suffered a concussion during a preseason scrimmage.
Immediately after I got hit, I just remember having no idea where I was. I was so confused.
Like Claire, Ben Chappell was excited to have an opportunity to play college sports. As the starting quarterback for the Indiana University football team, the fifth-year senior was, at the time, enjoying a good sophomore season when he suffered a concussion in a heated conference game.
I ran the ball, was trying to score a touchdown, and the guy just kind of hit me pretty much right on the butt. The next thing I remember is the trainer coming out, asking if I was okay.
Chappell coming off the field under his own power, but obviously not himself at the moment after that hit.
Concussions can happen at any time, to any player, at any position, in any sport. Whether the symptoms are serious or mild, a concussion is an injury that should always be addressed right away and should always be taken seriously.
Don't cover up or try to hide your symptoms. The earlier you report them, the sooner that we can take care of you properly.
Honesty in the short run may keep them out a little bit,
but in the long run, it's going to keep them much healthier and it's going to give them a much longer career when they play.
Any student athlete knows that injuries are part of any sporting activity. Collisions can cause bruises, sprains, or broken bones. Like these injuries, a concussion can have an immediate, negative impact on an athlete's ability to continue to perform well on or off the field.
The real true mechanism of concussion is related to acceleration and rapid deceleration. It's where you get a sudden change in forces. So anything that will provide a sudden stop can cause a concussion.
A concussion is a brain injury that is caused by a blow to the head or body from contact with another player, from hitting the playing surface, or being hit with a piece of sports equipment. Concussions can change the way your brain normally works and can range from mild to severe. These injuries can present themselves differently for each athlete, and they can happen in any playing circumstance in any sport.
We know that when a player has a brain injury, they tend to have difficulties with memory, particularly short-term memory. They have difficulty with how quickly they process information, how well they can think through problems, how well they can analyze problems, and how they put those all together. We know that those different aspects of brain functioning are affected in concussion. One of the key issues that we must deal with is making sure that when we return a player to play, that player is no longer having symptoms.
In order to recognize if you have a concussion, it is important that each student athlete understands the possible symptoms.
First thing you should do with respect to concussions is not minimize what you're feeling. Most of it should be reported to your medical staff at your university as soon as possible.
So I don't remember getting hit, but I think I was visibly confused. Something obviously was wrong.
For Claire Pinciero, the symptoms of her concussion appeared mild at first, and then grew more severe in the hours and days that followed.
I had this constant headache, and it was basically just a migraine at the time. I was really sensitive to light and noise. My spatial awareness was really off.
It's important when you're dealing with athletes that have injuries. They're so accustomed to playing through pain. If they have an ankle sprain, they're used to getting taped up and going back into play. I think with concussion, what's important is that they need to understand how important it is that they have to be 100% when they can go back.
Claire did not lose consciousness, but the symptoms from her concussion affected practically every area of her life.
I couldn't work out because it would raise my blood circulation and go to my head. And I couldn't really listen to loud music, so I couldn't do it with my friends. I couldn't really watch TV because that would hurt my eyes, which would hurt my head. And I couldn't play soccer, obviously. School was really tough. It was really hard for me to read. I had to read at like 20-minute intervals. And then even during that, it would just be such bad pain.
Like Claire, Ben Chappell did not lose consciousness, but his collision with another player caused his concussion. Team athletic trainers led him off the field immediately.
Initially, I didn't have any symptoms. I didn't feel different at all. I think it was once I got off to the sideline, when the doctors really started asking me questions, that I realized that something wasn't really right.
Ben's athletic trainers administered a typical sideline evaluation, the first of several important steps in the proper diagnosis and treatment of a concussion.
If an athlete presents to the medical staff with symptoms of a concussion, or an athlete is brought to the attention of the medical staff that they might be experiencing concussion, we will first want to remove them from play to get a good assessment.
They took me through the whole concussion questions, like you say the months backwards, the alphabet, start with this letter and continue through this one. I think the doctor gave me 3 words to remember. Walked into the locker room at halftime.
It's very important to be honest and upfront. If we can treat your concussion properly from the start, there's a real opportunity to get those signs and symptoms to clear faster and for your concussion injury to resolve quicker.
It's important for players and teammates, as well as coaches, to work in concert with athletic trainers and team physicians to identify and treat concussions as soon as possible.
Coaches need to be able to identify that an injury has occurred, and then to get that athlete with an athletic trainer, with a physician, with a nurse, psychologist, with sound medical decisions to be made.
The time for a concussion to heal varies for each athlete. Ben was back on the field within a couple weeks. Claire was out for the season. However, both are now healthy and playing at 100% because both left the game immediately and received the proper medical help they needed right away. In most concussion cases, athletes can return to play with no lingering symptoms.
About 90% of concussions will resolve in terms of their symptoms within a week, but 10% don't resolve within a week. If an individual is playing still symptomatic from a previous concussion and receives another blow to the head, is that the combined effects will exacerbate the initial concussion symptoms and may prolong it a great deal, so that one has more symptoms, they're more severe, and they last a great deal longer. It is very, very not smart to play with any post-concussion symptoms. You're risking permanent life-altering problems.
You want to be in there for your teammates and do the best you can. So I think that pressure is definitely real, but not 100%. Then you're probably going to do more damage to your team than good.
Concussion's a serious injury. It's like you tore your ACL or broke your arm. It's different because you can't see it. You can't see your cast or your brace or anything like that. But it's important that you get the help from your doctors because it could have some serious symptoms.
If you feel that you or one of your teammates is suffering from symptoms of a concussion, play it smart. Don't hide it. Report it to trained medical staff immediately and get checked out. Then take the proper time to recover. Remember, it's better to miss one game than the possibility of missing an entire season or career. When in doubt, get checked out.
Okay, so back to our little PowerPoint. As it said, concussions are an injury to the brain, and I explained to you early on, the Arrington settlement has really kind of changed the way we're going to deal with it a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit more of a step-by-step process. Understand that any athlete can get it. We've had swimmers who forgot where they were and ran into a wall. We've had cross-country runners that have fallen down and hit their head. It's not specific. It's not specific. Any sport can get a concussion. Deal with them all the exact same way. Again, these are the signs and symptoms. They've already went over those in the video. We make sure you see them. Symptoms may worsen physical or mental activity. So be aware of that. If you have a concussion, make sure you hide it or you don't hide it. You report it. You get it checked out. Take time to recover, and you will come back better and stronger for you. You'll be sharper than you would if you tried to come back. Concussions can have a lifelong consequence, especially if they're not appropriately treated. And in today's world, we know what we should be doing, so we're absolutely going to do them here. Without getting checked out. Now, one of the new things that came along with the Arrington settlement. One of the new things that came along with the Arrington settlement was a requirement by the NCAA that all student athletes are required to take an impact test, regardless of the sport that they participate in, prior to athletic participation. So, have not completed your impact test and reported to the training room so that you can be released. You need to do that as soon as you possibly can so that we can get this taken care of. But if you don't have the impact information, then all you need to do Okay. One of the most important things we try to do is could I ask the to check on, please turn off their microphones. Thank you. One of the most important things to do with injury care is actually injury prevention. And so we want to make sure we address that and make sure that you're aware of what you can do. They talked a little bit about it already, about hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Make sure that when you go to the bathroom, you're peeing lemonade and not peeing iced tea. Make sure you get a good nutritional, you should be eating. Nutrition is the key to good physical growth. Making sure you eat breakfast, the most important meal of the day. Making sure you eat before practice so that you have something to burn while you're at practice. Water bottles. We will be giving each athlete 2 water bottles. We suggest that you take 1 bottle and fill it full of water and leave it in your freezer. The other bottle should already have frozen water in it because you've already put that in there, and you fill it halfway with water when you get here. There's a fountain that is absolutely designed to use water bottles, so it's touchless. So you'll be able to utilize that. You'll have ice in your bottle, and you'll have cold water, and you can fill it up as many times as you want. We are going to really be cautious about use of water bottles and making sure that we don't share each other's water bottles or each other's bottles or each other's food or each other's anything, because this COVID thing, guys, how we react to this is going to have a direct correlation as to how we proceed. If we react the way we're asking you to, then you should be okay. We should be fine. I've already said this once today, and I'll say it again. If you don't, then it becomes a matter of time. And if you want to participate this year, you've got to follow the rules. That's why we're having this meeting, to make sure that you're aware of what needs to be done to get us to the next point. Now, other issues, make sure your shoes are broken in. If you bought new shoes, until you break them in, until you break in the new shoes, make sure your old ones are available. Make sure that if you got you're constantly having dry socks on, I suggest 2 pairs of socks. 1 pair goes wrong side outwards, the other pair goes right side outwards. The sweat is caught in the terry cloth in between. It helps to stop some of the irritation. Mouthpieces. Mouthpieces are required by football, but they are suggested with basketball, softball, baseball, soccer. If you're having problems getting a mouthpiece, let us know. We'll do something to help you. The coaches should certainly provide them for you if you need them, and I know football provides it for everybody and sometimes provides more than one, but the other teams should be aware of that as well. And if all you have to do is ask your coach, they'll get it taken care of for you. But if you're having problems, you come see me. We'll absolutely get it taken care of. Make sure you're keeping your clothes clean. If you're practicing twice a day, it is not very good to wear the same clothes after they've dried again without being washed. The bacteria, the salt cause irritation, and it can cause problems. We would like to avoid that if we possibly can. That's probably not going to be an issue in the near future, but it could be. Because of the effect of heat, because of the effects of heat are cumulative, athletes should be encouraged to sleep at least 7 hours per night in a cool environment, eat a balanced diet, and properly hydrate before, during, and after exercise. If you don't do this, you are neglecting yourself and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Again, good food. And I will say this, our campus, our cafeteria is not bad. I've been around for 41 years and as an athletic trainer, 31 at Fairmont, but I can tell you that the food we have down there is actually pretty good. It's not mom's, I will guarantee you that, but it's still pretty decent food. So you should eat it if you have it available. Make sure you hydrate. They have always told us if you wait until you're thirsty, you're already a little dehydrated. So make sure you hydrate early and often, and obviously during and after exercise. Strength and conditioning. Right now, we're still trying to figure out how this is going to pan out. Matt Offit is our strength and conditioning coach, and he works hard to try to make sure our athletes have cardiovascular strength, cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, muscular endurance, and flexibility. Those are the 5 key components of a well-conditioned athlete. So he works hard to make sure that this is available to you. What you do with it is an entirely different story. So we encourage you to take what Matt has and run with it. I know Matt and I early on in this COVID experience put together some stuff and we sent out to everybody. I hope you took advantage of it and utilized it. You're farther ahead than some people are if you did. I will tell you that most of this stuff, strength conditioning, all participants must adhere to the COVID-19 healthcare guidelines. That means that they must wear a mask. They must have a pre-workout temperature check. They must practice social distancing, and they must practice hygiene, good hygiene. I will tell you that we're going to do everything we can to try and get these workouts outside so that this whole thing becomes a little bit less of an issue. Now, the FSU facilities, one of my things that I do in addition to being the head athletic trainer and a few other things is I'm in some instances a partial director of this facility. I will tell you, once again, I've been here 31 years. This is my home. During a regular year from starting August 1st until the end of May, I spend more time at Fairmont State than I do at home. I'm proud of this beautiful campus. Over the 31 years that I've been here, it is, to be honest with you, the oldest building on campus now really is that hasn't been completely remodeled is the Feaster Center. So they've done a lot here. It's changed a lot. We get alumni come back and they're just astonished. We want to make sure that you help to keep it clean and help to keep it safe. That means making sure that you're following some basic protocols. Be aware, every door in this building, except one set of them, is going to be locked, and you will not be able to enter from the outside into those buildings. Now, because of fire code, you'll be able to exit. We ask that you not prop those doors open and let other people in. We want them to come through the front door so that they can have a temperature scan and that we can check them. If they go in and out of doors, it creates a problem. Again, this is one of those things that you people need to help us out with so that we can get through this pandemic and continue to practice and prepare for our athletic sports that we participate in. Be aware that no student parking in the back lot in the Feaster Center at any time. This area is actually going to be reserved for workouts. We're going to be taking out back there. We do not need cars back there. And I'm sure somebody's going to go, but I'm just going to be here. No, you're not going to be here for 15 minutes because you're not going to be able to go in and out that back door. You've got to go through the front. So use the Feaster Center parking, or not the Feaster Center parking lot, but the Duval Rozier Field parking lot so that you can go in and out of the front door. All student athletes should use that parking lot next to the Duval Rozier Field. All student athletes have to enter through the Feaster Center main doors across from that parking lot. That way we can kick you off and make sure that we get your temperature and everybody stays safe. I understand this is an inconvenience for you. It's an inconvenience for us too to have to monitor this, but this is the price we pay to try to participate. And if we don't follow these rules and regulations, we will struggle to be an athletic department here over the next couple of months. What you guys will do, what you guys are going to do, and what you help to enforce everybody else to do will have a direct correlation as to whether we proceed ahead or not. This is, well, we don't allow you to go through the athletic training room into the weight room or vice versa. Obviously, we're concerned about germs and things of that nature, but one of the things that kind of pops up for us, and it has at very inopportune times, is something called MRSA. MRSA is methicillin staphylococcus aureus. That's $1 million word for the most badass infection that you can possibly have. We've actually had kids have to redshirt because they've got MRSA before. And the room that's the most susceptible to MRSA is the weight room because of the sweating and the heat, and the pounding of the iron, all that stuff. And you get so many people in there. Well, we're going to do our best to make sure it stays clean. We're going to do our best to make sure that we restrict the number of people in there, and we're going to try to stay as healthy as you can. The best thing we're going to do, the biggest thing we're going to do, is not let people just move back and forth as they see fit. These are 10 things that require zero talent: being on time, making an effort, being high energy, being passionate, using good body language, being coachable, doing a little extra, being prepared, and having a strong work ethic. We hope that all of you can adhere to those things because it takes no major talent to do this. In fact, if you give me guys that are individuals that can do all these and have just a little bit of physical talent, you probably win a lot of ball games with this. Big games can be scary. Tough opponents can be scary. Life can be scary. Changes can be scary. This pandemic is scary. It's not can be, it is scary because we're going through something that nobody ever went through before. Some of us are groping in the dark trying to find answers, and we work hard at it. We don't always know what's going to happen, but we do the best we can with the information we have at that particular time. We encourage you to keep moving and doing what you can, doing the right things. Consistency is the key. Do the things that we ask you to do on a daily basis. And we're still going to be here in January. I tell everybody this, to all the athletic teams, remember, you are Fairmont State. You're the class of the Mountain East Conference. Always act that way. We're never surprised when we win. We expect to win everything. Good luck this season. I want to thank you all. For those of you that stayed through the whole thing, I want to thank you all. Again, we want to try to get all these medical things done by the end of the week so that by the end of the week, if for some reason next week we're able to start doing some either Vera or Cara, that you're ready to go. Otherwise, you're just going to sit out and you're going to be upset and the coach is going to be upset. And what I'm going to say is 5 months. That's how long we've had it to do, and we're still working on it. So good luck this season. If you have any questions, see me or my staff, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Bob.
Thank you.